All right, if you could just explain once again, what is the process for starting a beer or creating a beer?
So first of all, it's going to start with malt. We are going to use different grains depending on the beer style. We're going to use barley, flaked wheat, oats. Essentially, it's getting your grains together. Once we mill those grains, we can then add them into our kettle where it's going to meet up with water. We're going to keep that at around 152 degrees, and we're going to break down all of those starches from the malt, turn it into fermentable sugar, and create the base of our beer called wort. From there, after we have our wort, we can then transfer that, go into our boil, add our hops. That's where we're going to get all of our bitterness and our aromatics to our beer. Hops also act as a natural preservative in our beer, so it helps it stabilize and last longer on the shelf. And then from there, we're going to go to our fermentation process, where we are going to essentially add a yeast strain that is going to eat up that fermentable sugar and produce your two byproducts, which are CO2 and alcohol. It takes about 2 weeks to ferment that beer out. From there, we can then go into packaging.
How many types of beer do you produce, and what types of beer do you have here?
We have over 60 recipes that we are doing. We are pretty much known for doing IPAs, lagers, and Belgian-style farmhouse ales. In the facility that you see right behind us, we are also doing what is known as mixed culture beers. These have not only wild yeast strains in them, but they also use bacteria, lactobacillus to be specific, and these beers tend to be a little bit more tart and earthy in nature. So that's pretty much what we're known for, but we are always experimenting with new styles as we go forward.
If you're familiar with it, would you be able to explain or talk about the beer culture here? We're known as the Gulf Coast, and could you kind of elaborate on that if you have any additional information?
Sure. So we're actually the first brewery in St. Pete, and we are about 5.5 years old now. In the last 3 years specifically, you've really seen an influx of breweries. There is now about 12 breweries in a 2-mile span. So there's definitely a great beer culture that is being developed here. Everyone is kind of working on different styles. Everyone kind of has their niche. And the great part about it is, even though there's abundance of breweries, everyone is seeing a good amount of crowds to their tasting room. People are now taking trips here just to visit breweries, and they'll hit about 10 of them in a weekend. So everyone is getting to see new customers, and everyone is getting to experience what this area has to offer. It really has exploded in the last few years.